So I've been asked this question, I believe by now, 1,000,000 times. What is consciousness? And not just me. This question has been asked to 1,000,000 people, millions of times. All those people who experienced consciousness, who came way before me. And every person who tried to answer this question struggled with words. You can see the same struggle on my face. Because you're trying to explain something which is so simple. Something which is the simplest in this entire creation. But it can only be experienced. So I'm going to give it a try in my own way. But as you listen to me, you must remember, you will get it only once you experience it. If words were enough, then everyone would have got it by now, because enough words have been spoken. If you look at a tree, you call it a tree only. You don't call it that I see a bunch of leaves and a few branches and a stem, and of course most of us are unable to see the roots. You call a tree a tree. And the truth is that that particular tree has practically infinite leaves. Are leaves tree or a part of the tree? Those branches that are holding those leaves, are those branches the reason for the leaves, or are the leaves the reason for those branches? Are roots nourishing the stem and the branches and the leaves, or is it happening the other way? So a leaf on that tree is just being a leaf. It's not trying to be a branch. There is no comparison in the mind of that leaf. And it is being 100% leaf. Similarly, a root is just being a root. So this particular concept where you can just be who you are, that is called as dharma. And that is referred to as the pinnacle of conscious living. And what is consciousness? Is knowing who you are. When we want to understand what is consciousness, and consciousness, as I shared, is being who you are after understanding who you are, then what does it take to be conscious? It is very simple. The unconsciousness is what is stopping us from being conscious. And what is unconsciousness? Because if you don't understand this concept in the context of each other, you don't understand light till you've experienced dark, and vice versa. So far as the analogy of a tree is concerned, this is simple. Now imagine if that particular tree has emotions, has feelings, and each leaf, tiny bit leaf, each branch, each root develops that feeling and consequently an identity, and starts feeling, this is who I am, and now wants to be, in comparison to the other, a better one. It's no longer satisfied that I am just being a leaf. Now it starts becoming either comparative with the branch and jealous of the branch, or wants to be the fruit because everybody is appreciating the fruit. So unconsciousness is that aspect of a human being where we now want to become something else. Every human being born on the planet can look at themselves either as physical beings, purely physical, that we are going through emotional cycles, and I have a body, I have a mind, I have intellect. And the other way of looking at life is that we have some kind of energy and we are spiritual beings. So I will attempt to respond in both the ways. First, as a layman who's just engaged in his or her physical cycles. By physical cycles, I mean basic survival. And then the concept of duality and oneness comes, both at the physical plane and then at the spiritual plane. And are these intimately linked to each other? Yes and no. If bulk of the planet became present to the concept of oneness even at a physical plane, we would be a far better human race. But if a few amongst us could explore the spiritual plane, then we are starting to experience what we call as divine. So at the physical plane, this child is now experiencing separation from the mother or the father. And constantly a message is being given to the child that you have to become independent. You have to have your own identity. And this is your identity. So if I am born, I didn't have a name, I didn't have a religion. But the moment I am born, I am given a name. And that name comes with a load of aspirations. Ambitions of the parents who gave birth to me. And then the moment the family name is given, the load of the entire community's aspirations enters. If I am a male, different kinds of ambitions. If I am a female, different kinds of ambitions, and along with those ambitions, all the kinds of fears. It's a big bad world out there. So you have to survive. The concept of duality is this, that there is something out there to get you and you have to survive. Let me take you back to the analogy of a tree. The root has no problem about survival. It knows that the leaf out there, hanging somewhere out there, precariously, at the end of some branch, is going to be doing its dharma. And so long as that leaf is doing its dharma, I am going to be fine. Because as a root, I have a continuous existence. And so long as the branches and the stem and the entire process of photosynthesis is happening, and the process of life on the planet is happening, because tree is not producing water, it's not producing light, it knows life is happening and it's settled in that existential fact. It knows the fruit will happen because of all of this process of life happening. And as the fruit will happen, the life of the tree is now infinite. Because where will the seeds of that fruit go is continuation of life. So roots are not insecure, but as humans we became insecure. If there are so many pleasures living in duality, you should be happy. You have to see whether you are happy or you aren't. But you must understand one thing. If I was to give you a glass of water, one glass full of water, and if you're thirsty, you would want to drink it, right? But if you knew that there are 2 drops of poison in that glass full of water, however thirsty you are, would you drink it? So if you're happy, then you should not bother about duality or oneness. Forget about it. You are happy. But you should not live in delusions of happiness. Because if you are happy, then you won't suffer. So there are these tools that lead you to experiencing oneness. And these are very easy tools to use. In the modern age, everybody calls these tools under the common umbrella of meditations. I may be breaking your heart or your conviction as I share this, but meditations are never done. They happen. Through the process of removing your unconsciousness. It's a very simple thing. If you are an anxious person, can you be stable? But as you will remove the layer of anxiety, stability will happen. So as we remove the layers of unconsciousness, the meditativeness happens. Meditativeness is an outcome. Meditations do not lead to meditativeness. A very active internal process that requires the use of every single mental and physical and energy faculty in every cell of your body and around it. That is required to unpeel those layers and eventually reach a state of meditativeness. And in that state, what we call as meditativeness resides oneness. These are not two different things. These are one and the same thing. The prerequisites for reaching that state of oneness. The first state is what I call as acceptance. If you accept that you suffer, if you accept that there is misery in my life, then you would want to seek answers. But if you are living in delusions or denials or justifications, then you would never seek. So first prerequisite to meditativeness is acceptance of suffering. And once you accept suffering, you have to accept one more thing, that no god or goddess is going to remove that suffering. It's you who has to take charge of your life. Because whatever God intended to do with you has been done. You have been blessed with that can give you every single answer. It's just that you need to raise the question. So if these prerequisites are met, the oneness can be experienced. So if you had a body which had a self-healing mechanism, you will not bother about insects and worms. We are like insects and worms on the planet. Planet is not concerned about us. So let's be very clear about it first. The second is, the oneness with nature is there. It's for you to see or to ignore. If you choose to live with eyes open, remaining present to the oneness that is there, you don't have to create oneness, all right? Like discovery of gravity did not create gravity. We only discovered it. If you discover, if you realize that oneness, your life will become joyful. The stress and struggle will be gone. Now, usually we feel oneness with nature means we have to wrap our bodies with leaves. It sounds very exciting. You could do that. But nature does not mean that. Nature simply means the moment you are present to that oneness, it's in a metaphorical term. If you know this is your hand, And this is you also. Do you ever take a stone and start hurting your own hand? Yet, you wash it, you clean it, you protect it, you moisturize it, you do everything possible to use your hand in a more effective manner. Similarly, once you know you are one with nature, it does not mean you don't harness it. You will harness it, but you won't hurt it, because now you know you, nature around you, and you're one. Your obstacle, real obstacle to oneness is the ideas that emotions are good or bad, that anything ever is good or bad. If there is a creator who created this entire life, he created every single thing for a reason. I should not be gender insensitive. She created everything for a reason. And our job is to just understand that reason, just be able to witness what that reason is. In the state of oneness, you don't just produce well, you consume also very gracefully. You know the exercises of gratitudes that people do a lot of times. They may be doing it with total earnestness and honesty, but the gratitude will no longer remain an exercise for you to be done at a certain point in time during the day. Once you experience oneness, you live in that grace, the gratitude to the grace. And by living in the grace means your existence becomes so graceful that you don't have to thank someone as an effort. Your conduct is such that other people, they just want to be themselves and want to give it all that they have, simply because you value them. So it's a very interesting journey that I have seen AMPM and Ankur, Priyanka and Anirudh undergo. Very typical to the business they are in, where everything in their life, in their work has been about creating a very unique and separate identity for everyone who wears their apparel or their accessories. They've reached a particular point where now their work is an expression of who they are. And the most beautiful aspect of this journey has been that when they realized who they are, there was no uniqueness in it. It was universal in nature. And that universality, which pervades everything, where everything means every aspect of this creation, that started becoming one for them. And hence, Ekam is that milestone in AMPM's life and the founder's life, where through their realization they understood that there is nothing but one. In their journey as producers and designers of apparels, for me the most joyous moment was when, as founders and as a team, the entire team in AMPM, they started coming to one common point of realization. Again, one common point of realization is called as Ekam. And that one common point of realization was that if the designers were stressed and anxious, then the product that will be created out of their factories will spread anxiety and stress. But if they were joyful in the whole process of producing, designing, distributing, and reaching out to people, that very product will produce joy in the lives of those people who touch that fabric, who wear that apparel or accessory when they go about their daily lives. The entire effort is that major milestone in their lives to spread consciousness and to spread that joy that they have experienced in their own lives. चले?